30 seconds. That was all the time left before Braden, my ruthless boss, became the richest man on Wall Street. The whole world was watching him. Camera lenses, shark investors, long-legged models, all of them waiting for his finger to press that green button and trigger the biggest IPO in history. $10 billion, an almost unimaginable number. And me? You're probably wondering where I am in this glorious scene. I'm not standing beside him to share the spotlight. I'm not in the cheering crowd. I am kneeling at his feet. Yes, right here on the magnificent floor of the New York Stock Exchange, I am kneeling on the cold marble, using the sleeve of my own white shirt to wipe coffee stains off his $5,000 crocodile skin shoes. He had just kicked over a cup of scorching espresso onto me because it had too much foam. The hot coffee burned the skin on my hands. The smell of scorched fabric filled my nose. But I didn't dare lift my head. Because if I did, he would see that. I wasn't crying. He drove his foot hard into my shoulder, sending me sprawling backward. My head slammed against the leg of a table. My thick, heavy glasses flew off and shattered across the floor. His roar thundered above me, drowning out even the cheers of the crowd.
Hurry up, you useless bitch. You've dirtied my lucky shoes right before we go live. Do you want to die? 20 seconds left. Don't make me step onto the stage of glory with dirty shoes because of a stupid intern like you.
I struggled to my feet, my hands groping across the floor for the shards of my broken glasses. Braden straightened his tie. He looked down at me the way someone might look at a crushed cockroach. Then he reached into the pocket of his suit jacket, pulled out a crumpled stack of loose bills, and tossed it straight into my face. The bills fluttered down around me like dry leaves. A $1 bill stuck to my cheek, soaked with tears and coffee.
Take it and get lost. You're fired. After I press this button, the company will be worth $10 billion. And I don't want to see your pathetic, unlucky face ruining my billion-dollar masterpiece. Now get out. Leave this building before I call security and have them throw you down the stairs.
I looked at him. He was smiling. The smile of a man who believed he had already won everything. He thought he had it all. Money, power, and obedience. He thought I was just Ava, the slow, awkward intern from nowhere, the girl who spent her days clacking away on a keyboard in the dark corner of the server room, willing to do anything just to keep her job. But he forgot one thing. One fatal thing. He forgot who had stayed awake for 3 straight nights rewriting the entire source code for this trading system. He forgot who was the only person holding the encryption key that kept the system running smoothly. And most importantly, he forgot that the cockroach he had just crushed under his shoe was also the one holding the remote control to the nuclear bomb he was standing on. 15 seconds. I slowly stood up. I didn't pick up the money. I didn't wipe the stains from my shirt. For the first time in 6 months of silent endurance, I looked him straight in the eyes. His eyes widened, surprised by my sudden defiance. You're firing me, Braden?
You're still here? Yes, I'm firing you. You're trash. Get out of my sight.
Fine, but you should remember one thing. I leaned close to his ear and whispered, while the crowd around us shouted the countdown in a frenzy.
10,
Trash
9, 8.
doesn't know the password that unlocks $10 billion. At that exact moment, the clock hit 0. Braden didn't hear the end of my sentence, or perhaps greed had already made him deaf. He spun around, raised his hand high to wave at the roaring crowd, and slammed his palm down on the giant green button on the podium.
We're rich.
The bell rang out thunderously. Confetti exploded into the air. He waited for the green numbers to start dancing across the massive electronic board in Times Square. But they didn't. The screen didn't show a stock symbol. Instead, it turned a deep, violent red. Red like blood. And on it only a single line of text blinked like a curse. System locked, access denied. The entire hall fell silent. The applause vanished. The smiles froze on people's lips. Braden slammed his hand against the button again and again. Useless. The system was completely frozen. He turned to the technical team behind him. Every one of them shook their heads in despair, their faces drained of color.
Sir, the source code was altered at the last minute. Someone activated the kill switch. We can't access the stock wallet. All assets have been encrypted.
What? Who the hell would dare do this? I'll kill them.
And then he remembered. He remembered my whisper 10 seconds earlier. He spun around, searching for me. His eyes were bloodshot, wild, like a wounded animal.
Ava, where's that bitch? Catch her.
But I was already gone. While he was lost in his billionaire dream, I had quietly slipped out through the emergency exit. In my hand was not the crumpled money he had thrown at me. In my hand was my employee ID card, the only thing containing the biometric chip capable of unlocking the system. I walked past the trash can by the exit and dropped the card inside. Click. You wanted to fire me, Braden? Fine, but you just fired the only person in the world who knows how to save you. Good luck explaining to the board why $10 billion disappeared in 30 seconds. Welcome to hell, ex-boss. I stepped out of the New York Stock Exchange building. The bone-piercing cold of a New York winter slapped me straight in the face, but it was nothing compared to the heat erupting behind me. The blaring alarms, Braden's panicked shouting, the restless murmurs of the crowd, all of it slowly faded into the distance. I pulled up the collar of my coat and blended into the rushing tide of people on Wall Street. No one paid attention to a young woman with messy hair and a white shirt stained with coffee. They had no idea that this girl had just brought down a $10 billion empire with her bare hands. But to understand why I did it, why I pressed the self-destruct button at the very moment of his greatest triumph, we have to rewind 6 months. Back to the first day I stepped into Apex Capital. 6 months earlier, I stood in front of that gleaming black glass skyscraper, clutching an application for the lowest position possible, data entry intern. My name is Ava Sterling, 23 years old. On paper, I was an average graduate from an obscure community college, majoring in business administration. No experience, no connections. But the truth? I graduated from MIT at 16 with 2 PhDs in mathematics and cryptography, and more importantly, this building, this company, every brick in it, had been built with my grandfather's money. My grandfather, the founder of Apex Capital, had passed away a year earlier. In his will, he left me 51% of the company's shares and the right to inherit the chairman's seat. But there was one strange condition attached.
Ava, you have the mind of a genius, but you don't yet understand people. Don't sit in my chair just yet. Put on a mask. Enter the company through the back door, from the lowest position. When you see the true nature of those running it, only then will you be worthy of becoming its queen.
So I put on a pair of thick glasses, dressed in oversized clothes from thrift stores, and walked straight into the tiger's den. The man who interviewed me that day was Braden. He leaned back in his chair with his feet on the desk, scrolling through his phone without even glancing at me.
Why should I hire you?
He asked lazily. I'm hardworking. I can work overtime without pay.
Not bad. You look like the type who won't talk back,
I said, forcing my voice to tremble. He finally looked up, glanced at my plain, awkward appearance, and sneered.
I need someone who can make coffee and doesn't cry when yelled at. You're hired. $500 a month, no insurance.
And that's where my personal hell began. Do you know what it feels like to be a ghost intern? It means arriving at the office before anyone else, at 6 in the morning, just to make sure the boss's latte is exactly 60 degrees Celsius. If it's 59, he dumps it in the trash right in front of you. It means sprinting through rain and snow to pick up his dry-cleaned suit because he has a date with some model that night. It means sitting in meetings where he presents a brilliant idea to the board and realizing it's the exact idea you naively emailed him last week asking for feedback. Braden called me Shadow.
Hey Shadow, go buy a sandwich. Hey Shadow, clean this mess.
He never used my name. To him, I wasn't a person. I was a cheap, disposable tool. One time I watched Sarah, the head of HR, the only person in the company who secretly slipped me a donut when I was starving, get publicly humiliated by Braden in the middle of the office.
Fire that woman.
He shouted just because Sarah asked for one day off to take her child to the doctor.
I don't run a daycare for useless mothers. This company needs wolves, not dairy cows.
I stood in the corner, my fists clenched. I wanted to step forward, slam my share certificate in his face, and shout, "I'm the owner. You're the one who's fired." But my grandfather's words echoed in my head. Be patient, Ava. Wait, their true nature hasn't fully revealed itself yet. So I waited, and I waited for nightfall. There's a secret no one at Apex Capital knew. Every night when the clock struck 10 p.m., when the last exhausted employees left and the office lights went dark, that's when intern Ava disappeared, and admin Ava awakened. I never went home. Instead, I slipped into the freezing server room, the heart of the entire company. Braden thought I only knew Word and Excel. He had no idea I knew the password to every computer in the building. Night after night, I read through the trading system's code. Dear God, it was a disaster. The engineers Braden hired were all loudmouths with fat salaries and terrible coding habits. The system should have collapsed 3 months earlier if I hadn't secretly fixed it every night. I patched security holes, I optimized algorithms, I worked like a ghost guardian keeping the ship from sinking, only because it was my grandfather's legacy. Sometimes I left anonymous sticky notes on junior developers' desks. Line 402 has a loop bug, fix it. Don't use this function, it will slow the system. They whispered about a mysterious code angel. Meanwhile, Braden bragged in meetings. See, under my brilliant leadership, the system runs perfectly. I endured it. I let him shine while I stayed in the shadows. Until 3 nights ago. That night, Braden went out celebrating the upcoming IPO. He came back drunk and left his laptop on his desk unlocked. I only intended to shut it down for him, but a red folder on the screen caught my attention. Its name was Project Icarus. Curious, I opened it, and what I saw made the blood in my veins freeze. It wasn't business documents. It was a massive fraud scheme. Braden never intended to grow the company after the IPO. For 2 years, he had secretly falsified the company's financial reports. He inflated profits 10 times higher than reality using fake offshore shell companies. His plan was simple. Pump the stock price to the sky on IPO day. Let ordinary investors, working families, pension funds pour their money in. Then he would dump all his shares already secretly transferred to his wife's name and flee to Brazil with $500 million in cash. The company would collapse within a week. Thousands of employees would lose their jobs. Thousands of investors would lose their life savings. And my grandfather's legacy would become a disgraceful pile of ashes labeled fraud forever. I sat alone in the dark CEO office, the blue light from the laptop illuminating my tear-streaked face. He wasn't just a bad boss. He was a monster. He was ready to burn everyone alive to enrich himself.
This company needs wolves, Ava.
Yes, Braden, you're a wolf. But you forgot something. My grandfather was the man who tamed wolves, and his blood runs through my veins. That night, I didn't fix the system. I wrote new code, not to repair, but to destroy. This morning, Braden stumbled into the office smelling of alcohol and cheap perfume. He tossed a thick stack of documents onto my desk.
Bind this crap for me. Today's the big day. Don't screw anything up.
I looked at him and nodded, obediently. Yes, sir. Nothing will go wrong. But inside my head I thought, nothing will go wrong, Braden, because today isn't the day you become a billionaire. Today is the day I send you to hell. And that brings us back to the moment 30 seconds earlier. The moment he kicked the coffee onto me. The moment he believed he had crushed my dignity. He didn't realize that coffee stain was the final drop. He didn't realize that firing me had triggered my revenge earlier than planned. I stopped in the middle of the crowded Wall Street sidewalk and pulled out my phone. A message from Sarah, the HR director, appeared on the screen.
Ava, are you okay? I heard he fired you. Don't be sad. You deserve a better place.
I smiled and typed my reply. I'm okay, Sarah. I'm very okay. And you should prepare yourself because tomorrow you won't be the HR director anymore. I turned off the phone. Now the real show was about to begin. Braden was panicking inside that building. He would call the IT team, the lawyers, maybe even the FBI to hunt down the saboteur. But he wouldn't find me in that shabby rented room anymore. It was time for intern Ava to die, and for chairwoman Ava Sterling to step into the light. I didn't go home. Only a fool goes home and waits for the police to knock on the door. I chose a grimy public internet cafe buried deep in Queens, where the neon lights flickered like dying stars and the smell of stale cigarette smoke clung to every keyboard. I pulled my hood low over my head, put on a mask, and paid the drowsy owner in cash. Then I picked the computer in the darkest corner. My fingers flew across the keys, typing familiar commands like a concert pianist performing a symphony of death. The screen in front of me wasn't Google. It wasn't Facebook. It was the administrator interface of Apex Capital's building security system. I had planted a backdoor in the camera network a week earlier. I slipped on my headphones, and instantly, the sound of chaos slammed into my ears. It was loud. It was frantic. It was madness. But to me, in that moment, it was sweeter than any symphony. In the VIP conference room on the 40th floor, Braden was losing his mind. He hurled an expensive leather chair at the giant TV screen. Crash. The screen shattered, sparks bursting from the wreckage. Then he grabbed the IT director by the collar, a poor middle-aged man shaking like a leaf.
Fix it, right now. What the hell am I paying you 6 figures for? You're all useless. Break that lock. Smash the server if you have to. I need to execute the sell order. I need to get my money out.
We can't, sir. This malware, it's alive. It rewrites its own code every second. Every time we try to interfere, it wipes out another piece of customer data. It's like a Hydra virus. Cut off one head and 2 more grow back. If we smash the server, the money will vanish forever. We'll lose everything.
I smirked. Braden released the man's collar and staggered back, breathing hard like a raging bull cornered against a wall. Sweat soaked through the Armani shirt he had pressed so carefully that morning. He knew he had nowhere left to run. He knew exactly who had done this. He turned to his personal lawyer, and though he lowered his voice to a whisper, my high-sensitivity microphone caught every word as clearly as if he had spoken directly into my ear.
Stone, book the flight, right now. Earliest one to São Paulo, Brazil, or anywhere without an extradition treaty with the US. I can't still be here when the market opens tomorrow. The FBI will tear me apart.
São Paulo, Brazil. A sanctuary for white-collar criminals. He was planning to run. He was going to take the money and leave thousands of employees to choke on the ruins. But he forgot one thing. I was the one steering this ship, and I had already sealed every escape hatch. I opened a new command window on the computer. Then I accessed the international banking system. A few simple moves, and I was already inside the beating, financial heart of his empire. Secret account number 894 Alpha, Cayman Islands. Account holder, Braden Wolf. Balance, $50 million. This was his last lifeboat. The money he had embezzled, the money he had stolen from employees, the money he had squeezed out of deceived investors. I smiled and typed a simple command, freeze asset. Then I hit enter. After that, I picked up my phone. I didn't wait for him to call me. I called him first, but not on his cell phone. He could switch that off. Instead, I hacked into the PA system of the entire Apex Capitol building. Good evening, Braden.
What the? Ava? Where are you? What the hell are you doing with my speakers? Show yourself, you bitch.
Where I am doesn't matter. What matters is, I know where you're planning to go. São Paulo is beautiful this time of year, isn't it? Copacabana Beach, golden sunlight, rum. Too bad you won't make your 2 a.m. flight, because you just lost your plane fare.
What did you say? You hacked my account, you wouldn't dare.
Oh, I would. And I already did. Stop wasting your breath threatening me. Look at your computer screen. Right now. Open your Cayman account. I watched Braden lunge for his laptop on the conference table like an addict, desperate for another fix. His hands shook so badly he mistyped the password twice. At last he got in, the color drained from his face. It went from furious red to ash gray in seconds. He rubbed his eyes, then shoved his face closer to the screen. His eyes bulged so far they looked ready to drop out.
No, that's impossible. My money. Why is the balance 0? What did you do to my money? Give it back.
I didn't take it. I'm not a thief like you. I just moved it somewhere safer. An escrow account monitored by the FBI's anti-money laundering division. You see, Braden, you're not a millionaire on the run anymore. You're just a broke man with no money, no power, a locked passport, and prison breathing down your neck. This morning, you threw $1 in my face and laughed. Now I've taken $50 million from you and I'm laughing too. Fair, isn't it?
Ava, please, I'm begging you. That's all I have. I was wrong. I'm sorry for throwing coffee at you. I'm sorry for making you polish my shoes. Give me my money back, I'll split it with you. $25 million. You can have anything you want. I'll get on my knees and lick your shoes right now, please.
Hearing his pathetic sobbing, I closed my eyes. For 6 months, he had never apologized to anyone. He had trampled Sarah's dignity, mine, and that of hundreds of other employees. He had laughed at other people's suffering. And now, cornered at last, he was willing to sell his soul just to keep his money. I felt no pity, only disgust. It was time to deliver the final judgment. You want a chance to survive? Fine. I'll give you one choice. Tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, at the opening bell ceremony, You will go through with the event exactly as planned. It will be broadcast live nationwide, and I'll be there.
Why are you coming? To kill me?
No, I'm coming to reclaim what's mine. If you try anything, if I see even a shadow of a police officer, or if you fail to do exactly what I say, my finger will slip off the unlock button and onto the erase all data button. The entire Project Icarus file, every piece of evidence of your fraud and tax evasion, will be sent directly to the inboxes of the New York Times and the FBI, and then you won't just lose your money. You'll rot to the bone in prison with cellmates who really love people like you.
Okay, I promise. I swear, I'll do whatever you want. Just unlock the system. I'm begging you.
Good. Enjoy your last night as CEO, Braden, and make sure your shirt is pressed. You'll be on television tomorrow. Just not to receive an award. Sleep well, ex-boss. I pulled off the headphones and tossed them onto the keyboard. On the camera feed, Braden collapsed into a chair and buried his face in his hands, sobbing like a child whose candy had been taken away. The employees around him stared in horror. They had just realized the alpha wolf had lost his fangs. He was finished. I left the internet cafe. It was late. Snow had begun to fall over New York, soft white flakes drifting down to cover the filth of the city. I hailed a taxi.
Where to, miss?
The driver asked. Sterling Tower, Upper East Side, and please drive fast. I have an appointment with Destiny. That wasn't my shabby rented room. It was my grandfather's secret penthouse, a place where only two people knew the elevator code, him and me. It was time to shed the skin of intern Ava. But I couldn't do this alone. I needed an ally, the one good person left in that rotten company. I took out my phone and called Sarah, the HR director Braden had fired that very morning. The phone rang for a long time. At last, a tired voice answered, rough and strained from crying.
Hello? Who is this?
Sarah, it's me, Ava.
Ava, oh my God, where are you? I heard Braden's hunting for you everywhere. He said he'd kill you. You need to run. He's gone insane.
I'm not running, Sarah. I'm getting ready for war. What are you doing right now?
I am packing. I got fired, Ava. I'm taking my son back to my mother's place in Ohio. I can't survive in this city anymore. I failed.
No, you did not fail, and you are not going anywhere. Listen to me. Stop crying. Wipe your tears. Open your closet and pick out the most beautiful, elegant outfit you own.
What for? I'm in no mood to dress up.
For the inauguration of the new boss. Tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, at the stock exchange. I need you there, in the front row. I need one person I can trust standing beside me when I step onto that stage.
Ava, what are you planning?
I'm not going to do anything reckless. I'm going to do what's right. Trust me, Sarah. By tomorrow, you won't have to bow your head to anyone ever again. You're going to watch Braden pay for every tear you shed. And I promise you, when tomorrow is over, you won't be unemployed anymore. You'll be the one helping me rebuild this empire. I ended the call, leaving Sarah stunned, but with the first spark of hope flickering back to life. I stepped into my grandfather's luxurious penthouse. Dust had settled over the expensive furniture, but the air of power still remained untouched. I walked into the bathroom. I turned on the hot water and washed away the filthy coffee stains, washed away the smell of humiliation that had clung to my skin for 6 long months. Then I stood in front of the mirror and looked at the girl staring back at me. Her eyes were swollen from sleepless nights. Her skin was pale and drained. You can do this, Ava, I whispered to myself. You are Arthur Sterling's granddaughter. A warrior's blood runs through your veins. I stepped into my grandfather's dressing room. There, he had prepared something for me a year ago. An ivory power suit, hand-tailored in Italy, the color of rebirth, the perfect opposite of Braden's funeral black. A pair of crystal-studded pointed heels, and a pair of rimless smart glasses. I put on the suit. It fit me as if it had been made by destiny itself. I brushed out my tangled hair and tied it up high with fierce pride. I added a touch of red lipstick, the color of power. Then I looked at myself in the mirror one last time. The weak, obedient girl who bowed her head and apologized for everything had died in that internet cafe tonight. The woman staring back at me now was a queen of vengeance. I opened my grandfather's black leather briefcase and placed inside the files I had just printed. Evidence of fraud. Lists of shell accounts. And most important of all, the original will proving that I owned 51% of the company's shares. Tomorrow, I would not be coming to ask for a job. I was coming to reclaim my throne, and Braden, he would be the first sacrifice. 5 minutes to 9 in the morning. The New York Stock Exchange. The air here was thick with the smell of money and excitement. But for Braden, it reeked of fear. I stood behind the curtain of the VIP balcony, watching him through a narrow crack in the door. Braden was standing there, surrounded by reporters. He wore a brand new suit, his hair slicked back perfectly, his smile bright for the cameras. But I could clearly see the glass in his hand trembling violently. Water sloshed over the rim. He wasn't looking at the cameras. His eyes kept darting toward the entrance. He was waiting for me. He was praying that the intern hacker would show up to unlock the system and save his pathetic life before the market opened. In the front row of the audience, I saw Sarah. She had done exactly what I told her. She wore an elegant dark blue office dress, her head held high. Suddenly Braden noticed her. He froze. Then he rushed toward her, not to throw her out like he always had before, but to whisper desperately. I heard everything through the microphone clipped to Sarah's clothes.
Sarah, what the hell are you doing here? Where's Ava? Where's that girl? She promised she'd be here at 9. Call her. Tell her to get here now or we're all dead.
He was losing his mind. He was afraid I had backed out. Just then the host's voice rang through the loudspeakers.
Ladies and gentlemen, the market opens in just 2 minutes. Please welcome Mr. Braden Wolf, CEO of Apex Capital, to prepare for the opening bell ceremony.
Braden's face went pale. The system was still locked. If he rang the bell now and the screen stayed red, he would be finished. He turned toward the entrance one last time, his eyes full of desperate pleading, and that was when I stepped out. The heavy oak door swung open. I walked onto the balcony, no longer Ava the intern in a worn sweater. I wore my grandfather's ivory power suit. My black hair was tied high. My high heels struck the wooden floor with sharp, commanding sounds. Braden saw me. He exhaled in relief like a drowning man saved at the last second. He didn't care what I was wearing. He only cared that I had come. He rushed toward me, arms wide as if to greet me warmly, but really to lean close and hiss his final threats while keeping a fake smile for the photographers.
You came. Good. I knew you wouldn't dare abandon the company. Listen, Ava, I've got the money ready. You go up there, put your hand on the scanner, unlock the system. I'll transfer $5 million to you immediately. Then you disappear. Don't say a word, understand?
I looked at him. He still thought this was a negotiation. He still thought I was just a greedy girl. I smiled at him, a cold smile that made him shiver. $5 million? How generous, Braden, but unfortunately, my price has gone up.
How much do you want? 10 million? Fine, whatever you want. Just open the damned lock. There are only 30 seconds left.
I don't want money, Braden. I want the chair you're standing in. I brushed his hand away and walked straight to the main microphone in the center of the stage. Braden moved to grab my arm, but froze when he saw me pull an old yellowed file from my leather briefcase. He recognized it. It was the confidential archive of the late chairman Arthur Sterling, the file he thought had been destroyed. Ladies and gentlemen, my apologies for the delay. My name is Ava Sterling. I am the only granddaughter and the legal heir of the late chairman, Arthur Sterling. The entire hall erupted in shock. Whispers spread like a swarm of bees.
Sterling's granddaughter?
Who is she?
Wasn't she an intern?
Braden stood frozen behind me. All the blood had drained from his face. He knew I was the hacker, but he had never imagined I was the owner. This shock hit him harder than losing his money. He had just realized he had bullied his own boss for 6 months.
No, impossible. Sterling didn't have a granddaughter. You're lying.
Be quiet, Braden. Your time is over. For the past 6 months, I have hidden inside this company as an intern to observe how this man managed my grandfather's legacy. And what did I see? Deception, embezzlement, and a cowardly escape plan.
She's lying.
Braden shouted.
Security, arrest this crazy woman. She's sabotaging the ceremony. She hacked the system to blackmail me.
2 large security guards stepped forward. Braden pointed at me triumphantly. But they didn't arrest me. They walked past me and stood on either side of Braden, arms folded, blocking him. 10 minutes before stepping out here, I had already sent my personnel file to the head of security. They knew exactly who signed their paychecks. Security works for the Sterlings, Braden, and you are not a Sterling. I walked to the central terminal. The screen still glowed red, system locked. Beside it was the biometric scanner. Braden, you always told the board that you were the creator of this system. So go ahead, unlock it. If you can, I'll leave immediately. Braden stood there, sweat pouring down his face. Hundreds of cameras were pointed at him. He didn't dare step forward, because he knew he couldn't. Can't do it? Let me help you. I removed my white silk glove. Then I placed my right hand on the scanner. Beep. A clear tone echoed through the hall. The red screen vanished instantly. In its place flashed a bright green message. Access granted. Welcome back, Admin Sterling. Braden collapsed. He knew it was over, but I wasn't finished with him yet. The system didn't unlock for stock trading. The giant screen behind me changed. Instead of stock charts, a new window appeared. Project Icarus. His emails to lawyers about transferring money to the Cayman Islands. His messages calling employees slaves. His booking plan for a flight to Brazil at 2 a.m. Everything appeared clearly on the 500-inch screen in Times Square. You wanted money, Braden? I've already transferred the $50 million in your secret account into the Employee Compensation Fund. You're not going to Brazil. You're going somewhere smaller, darker. And there, you'll be the intern for some very large inmates. I nodded toward the FBI team waiting backstage. They rushed in. Cold handcuffs snapped around Braden's wrists live on national television. He didn't scream anymore. He only stared at me, his eyes hollow, the eyes of a man who had lost everything. I watched as they dragged him away. Then I turned to the audience. Sarah was crying in the front row, but she was smiling and clapping, and soon the entire hall was clapping. Thunderous applause filled the exchange. I picked up the wooden gavel. The clock struck 9:30. I brought it down hard. Bong. Trading began. But the old Apex capital was dead, and the new Sterling Empire had just been born. The closing bell rang out. Bong. On most days, that sound signals the end of the market, the finish line of another frantic race for money. But today, for me, it meant something else. It meant freedom. Most of the reporters had already scattered, chasing after the police van carrying Braden and his accomplices to the detention center. The wail of sirens faded into the distance, leaving behind a heavy silence that settled over the trading floor. Investors, brokers, and even members of Apex Capital's board of directors stood frozen in place. They were staring at me, hundreds of eyes, confused, fearful. They no longer saw a young woman. They saw a ticking bomb. They were wondering what I would do next. The woman who had just sent the former CEO to prison. Would I dismantle the company? Would their money vanish into thin air? I stood alone on the VIP balcony. Noon sunlight streamed through the glass dome above, shining directly onto my white suit, making it glow like a lighthouse among a sea of black suits below. I looked down at my right hand, the same hand that had unlocked the system, the same hand that had signed the order to arrest my enemy, was trembling slightly. Not from fear. From the adrenaline storm finally fading, leaving behind the deep exhaustion of someone who had just carried the weight of the world. I lifted the microphone again. Ladies and gentlemen, I know many of you are worried. Braden may be gone, but the wreckage he left behind is still here. Many of you, especially the members of the board standing backstage, are wondering if you might be the next ones in handcuffs. I looked directly toward the group of expensive-suited men avoiding each other's eyes. These were the same men who had laughed when Braden humiliated me in meetings. The answer is simple. It depends. Today, I officially announce the IPO is canceled. Don't panic. I'm not canceling the company. I'm pressing the pause button. Right now, Apex Capital is like an ancient tree hollowed out by worms. From the outside, it looks magnificent, but inside it's rotting. If we went public today, we would be selling poisonous apples to the public, and the Sterling family does not sell poison. I will spend the next 6 months cleaning this company from the inside out. I will return money to the small investors who were deceived by the fraudulent financial reports. I will fire the parasites, the sycophants, the people who helped Braden trample over employees. But I will keep the honest workers, the people who quietly kept this company alive even when they were treated unfairly. I paused, letting the words settle. And we will return here. I promise you. Not with an inflated $10 billion fantasy, but with real value. Even if it's only $1 billion. 1 billion that is clean, transparent, and something we can be proud of. The murmuring slowly faded. Silence hung in the room for a few seconds. Then someone started clapping. An elderly technician standing quietly in the corner. Then 2 people. Then 10. And soon the entire trading floor erupted in applause. This applause wasn't the frantic noise of greed. It was quieter, deeper. It was the applause of respect. I exhaled softly and placed the microphone down. The mission of the Queen of Vengeance was over. Now it was time for the builder. I walked down the red-carpeted steps and headed toward the front row. Sarah was still standing there. Her eyes were swollen and red. Her hands clutched her old handbag so tightly that her knuckles had turned white. Among all these wealthy elites, she looked small, out of place, afraid. She looked exactly like I had looked yesterday in front of Braden. I stopped in front of her. She instinctively stepped back and lowered her head.
Chairwoman Sterling, I'm sorry for coming here dressed like this. I didn't know you were.
Sarah, look at me. She kept her head down, so I gently lifted her chin. Don't call me chairwoman. Call me Ava, the clumsy intern you secretly gave a donut to when she was starving from working overtime. The girl you hugged in the bathroom when she cried because Braden threw coffee in her face. Do you remember what you told me that day? Sarah's voice trembled.
I told you not to cry. I told you you deserved a better place.
That's right, and so do you. Braden fired you because you asked to leave early to take care of your sick child. He called that weakness. He said this company needed wolves, but he was wrong. A company that wants to last doesn't need bloodthirsty wolves tearing each other apart. It needs shepherds. People who protect the flock. I squeezed her hands gently. Your kindness is strength, Sarah. She stared at me, tears spilling down her cheeks. I just fired the entire old executive board. Those seats are empty now, and I need a new chief people officer. Someone who listens to employees instead of shouting at them. Someone who understands that a happy employee earns more money than a terrified one. Someone who knows that a sick child matters more than a report that's 5 minutes late. Sarah shook her head, immediately overwhelmed.
But Ava, I'm just an ordinary employee. I went to a normal university. I don't have an MBA from Harvard like Braden.
Braden had a Harvard MBA, Armani suits, and crocodile leather shoes. And now he's sitting in a prison van. You have a heart. And that's the one thing I can't train someone to have. Degrees can be learned, skills can be taught. But kindness, that's a gift. I looked at her. Will you help me, Sarah? Help me turn Apex Capital from a slaughterhouse into a real family? Sarah stared at me for a long time. Then she looked down at our hands. Slowly, for the first time in years, her shoulders straightened. A spark of hope appeared in her eyes. She nodded.
I'll try. Thank you, Ava.
I pulled her into a hug. In the middle of the cold trading floor, filled with lifeless numbers, that hug felt warmer than any victory. 1 year later, New York was still as chaotic as ever. But Apex Capital had changed. I was sitting in the large office on the 40th floor, the one that once belonged to Braden, but it no longer felt cold or oppressive. The $1 million abstract paintings had been removed. In their place were photographs from employee family days and childish drawings from employees' kids taped proudly to the walls. The thick soundproof glass door Braden once used to isolate himself from the slaves had been completely removed. Now my office door was always open. Laughter drifted in from the open workspace outside. No shouting, no terrified interns carrying coffee trays. On my desk, beside the documents for our new IPO, this time real, transparent, honest, sat a small photo frame. My grandfather, smiling warmly. Next to it was a special keepsake inside a glass case, a pair of cheap, black plastic glasses. One lens cracked. The glasses I wore the day Braden shoved me to the ground. I kept them not to remember hatred. I kept them as a reminder. Power can corrupt easily, and the line between a king and a tyrant is thinner than people think. A gentle knock sounded on the door. Sarah walked in carrying 2 steaming cups of coffee. She looked completely different now, her hair neatly trimmed, her tailored suit elegant, and most importantly, confidence glowing from her posture. No trace remained of the timid woman she once was.
Morning coffee for the boss. Oat milk latte, light sugar, exactly 60 degrees. I made it myself. No interns harmed in the process.
I laughed softly. Thanks, Sarah. By the way, how's the new intern, Leo?
Oh, that kid? Brilliant, but very shy. This morning he accidentally spilled ink all over his white shirt. Poor thing looked like he was about to faint in the corner, probably thinking he'd be fired.
And what did you do?
I gave him a fresh shirt from the uniform closet. Then I patted him on the shoulder and said, "Relax, kid. Our boss once spilled coffee on the CEO's shoes and ended up becoming the chairwoman. A little ink isn't the end of the world."
I laughed. Warmth filled my chest. Sarah had become a true shepherd. I took a sip of coffee. The slight bitterness blended with the creamy sweetness of oat milk. It tasted better than any coffee I had ever had, because it tasted like freedom and humanity. I stood and walked to the floor-to-ceiling window, looking down at the tiny city of New York below. My grandfather once said, "Wear a mask so you can see people's true hearts." I did, and yes, I saw the worst parts of greed. But because of that, I also discovered the best parts of humanity. I found loyalty in Sarah and strength within myself. My name is Ava Sterling. I was once an intern, humiliated and treated like trash. I was once a hacker in the shadows, a ghost no one noticed. And now, I write the rules of a new game for this city. A game where the strongest person isn't the one who climbs higher by stepping on others. The strongest person is the one who bends down and lifts others up with them. And that is the true legacy of the Sterling name.